According to the Monokuma file, Sakura had vomited blood.
Thank you!
I think we can assume there's a chance this was related to her cause of death. In fact, there was even a trace of blood left around her mouth.
Well, I mean, maybe when she got hit with the bottles, she cut the inside of her mouth.
If that's all it was, the file wouldn't have specified vomited blood. Not to mention, I didn't find any cuts inside her mouth.
You even checked in there? God, you really are into dead bodies!
No, I'm not into dead bodies. What I'm into is solving mysteries.
But if there wasn't a cut or anything, then what made her vomit blood?
Some sort of reaction within her body. Most likely,
A chest burster!
Sakura was poisoned.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Poison?
That's right. This is the conclusion I've arrived at, and so there can be no mistake.
You're making me go all weak in the knees! She was poisoned? It isn't possible!
Is it really so hard to believe? Then let me explain exactly how the culprit was able to poison her.
You can explain it?
Of course, if you don't mind.
Everyone quiet! Shut up and listen to Master!
But you're the only one talking.
The key to unlocking this mystery was hiding in the chem lab up on the 4th floor.
Huh? Not in the rec room? And I could have found it all along.
You never would have, since you gave up on the search the moment you were barred from the crime scene.
Well, yeah, good point.
There's a big shelving unit in the chem lab that houses a variety of mixtures and chemicals. And that's where I found this.
Is that the poison?
It's not an especially powerful poison, but it'll still kill you if you drink an entire bottle. But the specific properties don't matter. What does matter is where I found it.
Where'd you find it?
The shelf is divided up into 3 sections, A, B, and C. In section A, dietary supplements. In B, reagents. And in C, a variety of lethal chemicals.
And that's where the poison came from? Section C?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
The bottle of poison Byakuya just showed us. I'm sure I know where he got it. He actually got it from Section A!
The poison was actually in Section A, wasn't it?
Huh? You just said that Section A was for supplements or whatever.
Strange, isn't it? Why would there be a bottle of poison mixed in with all those nutritional additives?
Because the nutritional additives market is completely unregulated and nobody has any federal oversight over what's in those bottles, and I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah, so? Why?
Because the culprit switched it out. That's why.
What do you mean?
I mean, this.
Okay, he's an asshole, but he's also a stone-cold badass. I couldn't believe my eyes. Byakuya put the bottle of poison to his lips, and...
Master!
We were so shocked at what we were seeing, all we could do was stand there and watch. But it's as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Byakuya was as calm as ever.
That tastes awful.
Oh no! Master's in real trouble! You have to drink some water! You can't just swallow powder! It'll stick to your throat!
That's your concern?
Idiot! He just swallowed poison! We need to make him spit it out!
The flavor certainly makes me want to spit it out. What's so high quality about this stuff?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the protein, of course.
Protein? Can I see that bottle for a second?
Oh, sure. Do whatever you like.
Kyoko took the bottle away from Byakuya and scraped out a bit of the contents with one finger. She touched the finger to her tongue.
It's protein powder.
Correct. That wasn't poison in the bottle, but harmless protein powder. Which makes one wonder, the poison that should have been in that bottle, where did it go?
Okay, question though. Wouldn't the poison that sticks to the side of the bottle, like the residue, unless someone took the time to like wash the bottle completely out, in case someone decided to drink the protein powder out of the bottle, there would still be poison residue that would then soak into the protein bottle. Or, excuse me, powder. Whatever. I'm thinking too hard. The bottle of poison was actually filled with protein powder, which of course would mean that, conversely, the poison must have been in... Could it be? Why do you keep asking questions right before these things? It makes the voice acting here very awkward. I know what the first word is supposed to say, but I'm confused about the second one. Oh, I know. I figured it out. Give me a T. Stop hiding. Protein drint.
Now I understand. The poison must have been poured into the protein can. If the protein's in the poison bottle, it seems only logical to assume the reverse is true, right?
Why would they put powder in a can? Normally when you have protein powder, aren't you supposed to mix it with something?
Absolutely.
And then drink it?
The contents of each container were switched. So the protein was in the bottle of poison, and the poison was in the protein can. Once you accept that, it becomes obvious how the culprit was able to get Sakura to drink the poison.
Holy crap!
All they had to do was hand her something there at the scene, and she was happy to drink the poison herself.
Something at the scene? A Monokuma bottle! No, a protein drink!
You're saying they gave her a protein drink, right?
A protein drink which actually contained a deadly poison.
What?
That's all it took to kill Sakura. That is the true cause of death.
You know, I do remember Ogre saying that protein stuff was good for all kinds of aches and pains. So maybe she took it to try and help with the whole bleeding head wound thing.
But what was offered to her instead was a bottle full of poison. And I already know exactly who swapped the mixtures.
For real? Who was it?
Evidence revealing who replaced the two materials was left in the chem lab for anyone to see.
And that would have to be our, what's it called? Our, footprints.
I got it! The footprints left behind in front of the shelf. That's the evidence you're talking about, isn't it?
I visited the chem lab this morning, and there were definitely no footprints there at that point. They must have appeared around the time of the murder, which leaves no doubt that they're connected. What's more, the footprints were in front of Section A, where I found the bottle meant for the poison. The culprit must have gone to Section A to swap the poison and protein, leaving their footprints behind. And given how clear the prints were, figuring out who they belong to will pose no problem. All we have to do is check everyone's footprints right now. Then
Wait a
we'll
minute.
see who...
Did you, like, bring the footprints in the powder down here somehow? How are you going to compare them to the footprints in the powder?
It was me.
Plot twist!
The footprints. They're mine.
Hina?
If you're all gonna find out anyway, I'd rather you hear it straight from me, you know?
Ogre's killer was...
Yep. I did it. I killed Sakura.
I have a hard time believing this.
Just as I suspected. The footprints were made by a pair of sneakers. There was no mistaking it.
And after I gave you like 8 bathing suits, too!
And the only people here
Why
who
are we
wear
coming at
sneakers
Byakuya from a
are-
low angle? This is very weird. Sneakers, huh? The only people wearing sneakers are Makoto and Hina.
Got it! Me and Hina are the only ones. Oh, so Byakuya. That explains why you...
These footprints must be... Makoto, are they yours? No! Okay, then let me see your shoes and I'll confirm their size for myself.
If the footprints didn't belong to Makoto, that left only one other possibility.
Just Hina.
Plus, Hina's been acting strange ever since the trial began. You were in an awful rush to get to the vote, weren't you? This whole time, you've been focused on pinning the crime on someone else, haven't you?
I can't believe it.
What about it can't you believe?
Well, it's just... the two of them were so close.
That's likely exactly why it turned out this way. Because they were so close, Sakura didn't think twice about it when Hina handed her the concoction.
This is true. Hina is way smarter than I'm giving her credit for.
Hina used that trust to kill her. She deceived the victim, and she tried to deceive all of us. I have to say, Hina, coming from you, This was a particularly nasty little scheme.
Is it true? Did you really kill Sakura? And if you did, why? Why would you do that?
Ellipses.
I found her. There in the rec room. She was hurt. She asked me to bring her that protein drink. But when I went to get the powder from the chem lab, it just occurred to me all of a sudden.
Now's my chance to kill her. That's what you thought, right? That's when you switched out the protein powder, and that's when you gave her the poisoned mixture.
And then she downed it all at once. And then
Hold it. I'm not convinced.
You're not about to claim she wouldn't kill a close friend, are you? You still don't get it, do you? The game we're playing here isn't so kind. Honeyed words like friendship don't matter here. What matters is outwitting the opponent, defeating them. Not a person alive would sacrifice themselves for another. In the end, we're all in it for ourselves. Just like how this girl sacrificed Sakura to save herself.
Ellipses.
You say that, but I'm still not convinced.
How many times do you plan to repeat yourself?
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it because of some misguided sentimentalism, but there's still that
I
one
am.
unsolved mystery, and I'm not convinced.
Are you talking about the locked room problem?
Hina, if you really are the killer, explain it. How did you create that locked room?
well, that doesn't matter. Just because I'm guilty, that means I have to tell you everything?
No, it doesn't. But the fact that you won't tell us concerns me.
Surely you're not... Do you honestly think Hina didn't actually kill her?
And if I do?
Impossible. She switched out the mixtures. She's the culprit. There's no way you can doubt this.
Well, we could put into question why there was powder on the floor when she went up there to begin with.
Are you sure about that? Even ignoring the fact that I don't want to believe it, it just doesn't fit.
What doesn't fit?
I mean, why would someone leave such a clear clue like a footprint? It's too obvious, too easy.
He's right. It makes it look like you wanted people to suspect you.
I was just nervous. So, I didn't notice I'd left a footprint.
You didn't notice?
Yeah, that's just how it was. What can I do?
Listen, Hina. Could you go into a bit more detail? Tell us more about when you switched the poison and the protein.
How come?
You know, Monokuma's
That
been really
doesn't
quiet
matter.
during this trial. He normally chimes in at least once.
Hina, please, I'd like to know too.
Fine.
Waste your time if you like. It's clear that Hina is the culprit. There's nobody else to suspect. Nobody else could have possibly done it.
That's not true. There's still you and me and Kyoko.
Go ahead, Hina. Start from the moment you arrived at the chem lab.
Well, right away I went to Section C and got the poison.
And is that when you spilled the powder in front of that part of the shelf?
Yeah. When I opened the bottle, I dropped it like an idiot.
I see. Okay then, go on.
So then I moved to Section A and got the protein powder, and that's where I switched them.
So you walked backwards and then in a U shape and then went all the way around to Section A and then went forwards again.
Once I was done with that,
Instead of just walking a couple steps sideways.
I took the protein can that had the poison in it and left the room. But I accidentally put the bottle filled with protein powder back on the wrong shelf. And because of that, everything I did got found out. And that's it.
That story you just told. First you went to Section C to get the poison. Then moved to Section A to get the protein, right? Meaning you went from Section C to Section A. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
But if that's true, isn't that a little strange?
Can you repeat that series of events one more time?
What's wrong with you, Big Mac? You're being awfully pushy.
It's the same thing no matter how many times you hear it. How long until you're satisfied?
How long? Until we figure it out. Until I uncover the full truth of this case. And we need to hear it again so I can shoot bullets at it. We'll start with footprints in the powder, since that's the obvious
First
problem
I went
here.
to Section C. when I grabbed the poison.
No problems there.
And you
So-
spilled some of the powder on the ground in front of the shelf.
Yeah. When I grabbed the bottle, I dropped it.
Okay, and then?
I moved from section C
To section...
That's not what the evidence shows.
You said you went to get the poison from section C, and that's where you spilled the powder, right?
Yeah? What about it?
And after that, you said you moved from section C to section A to get the protein. But the footprints left at the scene were not moving from section C to section A. That contradicts what you just said.
Then maybe she moved in some weird direction on purpose to disguise her movements?
Then why would she walk through the powder?
No, that can't be it. Remember what Hina just said?
I was just nervous, so I didn't notice I'd left a footprint.
What the? Hina, what's the meaning of this?
It means you're not as smart as you think you are, dumbass.
Well,
You lied to us. Plain and simple. If you look at the footprints, your movements in the chem lab are obvious. The powder had already been spilled when you came in, and you went straight to section A. So you never went to section C. Whatever you did there, it only involved section A.
well, you see...
What the? What the hell? What's going on here?
We're having a Byakuya breakdown.
And the footprints aren't the only problem with her account. Before I explain that part, I'd like to submit some new evidence.
New evidence? Impossible, there can't be.
Are you sure? After all, you're the one that gave it to me.
I did?
It was hidden inside the bottle of poison you gave me. I'm amazed you, of all people, would miss such a vital clue. A truly grave oversight.
Ellipses.
Just say it already. What is it you think you found?
I found this.
A piece of glass?
It had sunk to the bottom of the bottle, and the hidden clue was exposed.
Fortunate you didn't drink the
thanks
glass.
to you ingesting the powder. I couldn't have solved the mystery without you. So, thank you for that.
But, what is it?
Oh, you still don't realize? Well then, Makoto, why don't you explain it?
Huh? Me?
Fine. If you really do know, explain the meaning of that shard of glass.
Shard of light blue glass Kyoko found in the bottle of protein. It's from the rec room window.
It's part of the window from the rec room door, right?
The window?
The window we broke to get in was light blue, just like that. So I think that
Actually, I
must
realized
be
the
it.
window was supposed to be light blue. I just assumed that that was the color of glass in this game that isn't tinted.
You're right. It must be. Of course, that leads to another question. How did a shard of glass from the window get inside this bottle of poison?
What's so strange about that?
What's strange is that, according to what Hina told us,
Where was the bottle of poison when I broke the rec room window? According to Hina, it was supposed to be in section A of the shelf.
the bottle of poison was left on the shelf in the chem lab. That is what you said, right, Hina? And yet, somehow a piece of glass from the rec room window made its way into the bottle.
Everything Hina told us was a lie?
In reality, that bottle of poison most definitely found its way to the rec room.
Why is everyone so determined to be the killer?
It was there at least until the window got broken. In other words, when the locked room was unlocked. There's no other way to explain the presence of that glass in that bottle.
And then, once the room was opened, the bottle somehow got moved back to the shelf in the chem lab. Meanwhile, the protein can we found at the crime scene was planted there. That had to be after the locked room was opened. In other words, after Sakura died.
Wait, hold on. You're moving too fast.
You can't keep up with us, Byakuya?
I'll grant you, the bottle of poison may well have been in the rec room when it was locked. But how can you say the protein can was put there after the room was unlocked? We already know she was given the protein can with the poison inside, right? If that can wasn't there when she died, how did she get poisoned?
You're right. We do need to explain that. But before we do, there's something I'd like to confirm with everyone here.
Huh?
It has to do with the protein can. After Sakura's body was discovered, did anyone move it or trip over it or anything like that?
What are you talking about? Is this some kind of loaded question?
Not at all. Just answer to the best of your ability.
Well, no, not that I remember.
Yeah, me either.
Not me.
Yeah, me either.
Okay then, that settles it. That proves that the protein can found its way to the murder scene after the room was opened.
Oh, come on! How can you say that? How can you know what I don't know?
The reason she can say that is because there's evidence. There's proof that someone brought the protein can to the rec room after it was opened. Oh, the music's getting serious now. That would be the empty protein can, because if
When it
I'm
comes to
remembering
that
correctly,
protein-
we mentioned earlier that it was sitting on top of some shards of glass.
Can. There's not a doubt in my mind. Until the locked room was unlocked, it absolutely was not in there.
So you're saying someone planted it there after we got the door open?
No. No, that's impossible. It had to have been in there the whole time.
That's not true. That's
It
impossible.
had to be.
It was in there
Whoa.
before the rec room was unlocked.
No, that's
That's
wrong.
a lot of purple statements.
You remember how there was broken glass scattered all around the room, right?
Of course. It came from the window you broke to get in. What about it?
Well, those pieces weren't just scattered around the protein can. We also found pieces underneath the can.
What?
And this proves it.
We're
shows
still
that
no
the can
closer to
must have
figuring
been
out who
put
killed
down
her.
on the floor after the window was broken.
They keep ruling out everyone that wants to jump in front of that particular bus.
So it had to be after we got into the room.
I see. So that's your explanation. Kyoko, earlier when you asked if anyone had moved the can or tripped over it,
If that were the case, that would explain the can being on top of the glass.
So you asked everyone about it to eliminate that possibility right out of the gate.
And that's made everything clear, hasn't it? As long as it was a locked room, it only contained the bottle of poison, and not the protein can. But once the room was opened up, they were switched, and as a result, the protein can wound up in the rec room, and the bottle of poison returned to the chem lab.
if that's all true, then why did Sakura drink the poison? I thought we all agreed she was tricked into drinking it because of the protein can.
No, that's not why. The only explanation is she drank it from its original bottle, knowing exactly what it was.
Precisely. She was alone in a locked room. All she had was the poison. What other possibility is there?
You're saying
She killed herself.
drank it knowing what it was? Such a ridiculous fiction is...
Exactly what happened.
Ellipses!
Then tell us already. Sorry. Please, tell us.
Apologizing, that's new.
Before we get to that, we need to clarify one other thing. We need to establish who exactly got the poison from the chem lab and took it to the rec room.
It was Hina, right? She took it and gave it to Ogre.
What do you think, Makoto?
Who got the poison from the chem lab and brought it to the rec room? It must have been Sakura herself!
I think it was Sakura herself.
You see? Even down to the phrasing.
Huh? So Sakura, who was apparently murdered, just poisoned herself? What are you talking about? There's no way!
On the contrary, we know for a fact she went to the chem lab, right to the section full of poisons.
You're lying! Stop lying! Why? Why would you lie like that?
We could ask you the same question. No, it's not a lie. Sakura definitely went to Section C. I have to get Hina to admit that. Looks like our third bullet time battle. The moment of truth.
You're a liar! What are you saying? Wrong! You're wrong! Just let it end already! You're a liar! wrong.
I wish they weren't saying the same repetitive things over and over
I
again.
hate you.
Apparently she
You're
hates
a
me.
liar. What are you saying? Wrong. You're wrong. Just let it end already. You're a liar.
She short-circuited my fever time!
Wrong. You're
Somehow.
wrong. I hate you. You're a liar. I'm telling you, I did it. I hate you.
Oh, wait, no, I was doing it.
Do you have any kind of proof Sakura took the poison?
Yellow powder!
This should prove it.
Kaplow!
Hina, did you know that Sakura's foot had a certain yellow powder stuck to it?
Ellipses.
It did?
It did. The same yellow powder that had been spilled by the shelf in the chem lab.
Do her shoes have her name written on them?
That powder was yellow, wasn't it? So the powder we found on Sakura, what else could it be but the powder from the chem lab?
Wait. So, what was that powder doing on Ogre's foot?
And it was only on her instep, right?
Sakura must have been standing right there where the powder was spilled. So the person who spilled the powder by the shelf wasn't Hina, but Sakura. And when Sakura dropped the bottle, she dropped it away from where she was actually standing, which is how she was able to avoid getting it all over herself. But the powder still got scattered around, and some of it must have wound up on her instep. Is there any problem with my thinking?
But why did Sakura pay a visit to Section C in the first place? The only explanation is that she was looking for poison. After all, that's all that section contained.
No! It was me! The poison!
The poison!
Because I killed her!
No, you didn't kill her.
The one that killed Sakura. The connection between Sakura and the poison. The unsolved mystery of the locked room. There's only one way to explain it. Who killed Sakura Ogami? Didn't see who that was. The answer is Sakura Ogami!
The one who killed Sakura was Sakura herself.
What? The killer was Sakura?
So you're saying it was suicide?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it any more than I believe I can fly.
I can't believe it either. Or rather, I don't want to believe it. But when you really think about it, everything matches up. Sakura went and got the poison. She barricaded herself in a room, and she drank it, all so she could end her own life. And that explains why we couldn't solve the mystery of the locked room.
Because of course, Sakura wanted to create the locked room.
The locked room mystery was created by Sakura.
I'm sure she locked herself in so nobody could stop her from doing what she did. She sat there, drank the poison, and breathed her last breath. And the empty bottle of poison rolled around the locked room until we came and opened it. At that point, someone grabbed the bottle and snuck it out of the room. And that was you, wasn't it, Hina? You did it to throw off the investigation, didn't you?
Why is everybody messing these up? First Byakuya, now you.
When we found her body, you stayed right there near the door.
Well, we looked soullessly at her.
Because you already knew Sakura was dead. And because the bottle of poison had rolled near the doorway.
That's when you picked up the bottle, right? I was too shocked to notice anything, and Kyoko was busy checking the body.
And the more I think about it, the more I realize how unusual your actions were.
I have to go get them. I have to go get the others. On shaky legs, Hina left the rec room.
You said you were going to go get everyone else. But your real intention was to go to the chem lab and switch out the containers, wasn't it? Once you were at the chem lab, you headed straight to the section where the protein powder was kept. There, You took the powder and poured it into the bottle of poison you grabbed from the rec room. When you left the lab, all you had was the empty protein can. Thinking about it like that, the footprints make perfect sense.
When you were done, you gathered everyone together. And once you were back in the rec room,
I got everyone. What? Ogre? Oh, so she's dead, huh? Sakura's been killed. I see.
while everyone else was focused on Sakura, you quietly placed the can on the ground. Honestly, I should have noticed. You should have been the first one to run up to Sakura's lifeless body. The Hina I know never would have left her side in a situation like that.
So, Sakura committed suicide. In order to hide this fact, Hina undertook a series of actions to undermine the investigation. As long as you could disguise the truth, you didn't care if we blamed you for her death. That's why you didn't bother to get rid of such obvious evidence, right? The footprints in the powder and the bottle of poison? Vital pieces of evidence, and yet...
So you're saying Hina consciously deceived us to make it look like she killed Sakura?
Why?
No! No, 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 no! I killed her! I did it!
That's enough, Hina. It's over.
You're just embarrassing yourself.
It's not! Nothing's over!
It is. Actually, no. You're right. We have to end this properly.
It's comic book time! Alright. Note slipped under doors. Sakura wanted to talk to 3 people. Byakuya, whose hair gets longer in the comic scenes. Toko got to the rec room early and hid somewhere. Okay, she's hidden in the locker, right? Is there another picture of the locker? No, we're good. And this all happened, and Hiro hit Sakura with the Monokuma bottle that had the night in it. And then he wrote Toko. Where is it? There we go. Line. Toko was in the locker, so she came out. And what did she do with the magazine? She was upset about it, so obviously she hid it in the magazine rack. Then Genocide Jack came out and hit her with the Queen bottle. Then she swept all it up. Sakura was killed with the poison. We found it. And then Hina took the chemical. And they switched the bottle of poison with the chemical. Let's try it!
You!
Theme song time!
This case began when Sakura asked a number of people to meet her in the rec room.
Gur naga!
Specifically, those people were Hiro, Toko, and Byakuya. But one of them headed out a bit earlier than the others. Toko. She got there one step ahead of everyone else and looked around for a good hiding spot. And she found it. She crawled into the locker to get out of sight. Then, from inside the locker, she saw Sakura enter the room. Next to arrive was Hiro.
Candy!
When he got there, he mistakenly thought Sakura was going to try to kill him, so he panicked. Without thinking, he grabbed a nearby Monokuma bottle and attacked Sakura with it. Thinking he'd killed her, he hastily began covering up his crime. He took a magazine from the table and forged a dying message from Sakura. To that end, he wrote down a name. Toko. By writing her name, he was hoping to pin the murder on her. But of course, Toko had witnessed the whole thing. So as soon as the coast was clear, she jumped out of the locker and hid the magazine on the shelf with all the others. But in her rush, she made one little mistake.
She put it back
The
upside
magazine
down.
back upside down.
How dumb do you have to be?
Soon after, she watched as Sakura slowly opened her eyes. She also saw the blood dripping off Sakura's head and fainted. This caused her personality to switch back over to Genocide Jack.
See, here he's calling her Genocide Jack, but we were calling her Jill earlier. What is her name?
When she woke back up, her second personality also saw the blood-soaked Sakura, and she freaked out. And just like Hiro, she grabbed another Monokuma bottle and attacked her. This explains why there were 2 wounds on Sakura's head. Assuming Sakura really was dead this time, she set about disposing of the evidence. She gathered up the broken Monokuma bottle shards and the queen chess piece. And that explains how Sakura was attacked twice with the same type of weapon. But even after those 2 blows, she was still alive. So then, what was Sakura's actual cause of death? It was the poison that Sakura herself got from the chem lab. She turned the rec room into a true locked room scenario, and then drank the deadly mixture. And there, she took her final breath. Later on, the rest of us discovered that her body was in there. We had to smash the door's window to get inside.
Makoto smash!
But someone already knew what had happened. Knew that she had committed suicide. And that same someone quietly snatched the bottle of poison from off the ground. And while nobody was looking, replaced it with an empty protein can. They did all this specifically to place all the suspicion on themselves, in an attempt to guide the trial to a false conclusion.
Again, why?
And the one who went to all that effort,
Even her stick figure has gigantic boobs.
is you, Hina.
I love the style of these, like, random, like, crosscut things. It's always different.
That's the full truth of the case.
Yeah, I
Sakura
made her cry. Wait.
took her own life, and you claim to be the killer to hide that fact. Isn't that right?
Why would you do that?
That's what happened? But Makoto, how did you manage to, how were you able to uncover the truth that even I couldn't discern?
Seriously?
Huh? Oh, well, I mean,
You still haven't realized? We don't all act according to calculations and cost-benefit diagrams. That's what makes us so complicated. That's what you don't understand. And that's why you couldn't solve this case. See? Didn't I tell you?
Excel has failed me!
When you dismiss other people's feelings, it'll always come back to bite you in the end.
Oh, there we go. A. Rank A! Awesome. That's like a perfect score, I think. Money, money, money.
Okay. I think we can all agree you made your point. Did you guys forget already? You still haven't voted yet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You seriously forgot? I can feel my energy draining out of me. Well, whatever. You don't really have a choice anyway. You just gotta do it. Maybe you don't want to, but please grab your lever and cast your vote. So, who will be chosen as the blackened? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
And time to cast your votes. And the killer is Sakura Ogami.